The Charleston air hung thick and sweet that morning, the kind that promised a sweltering day but still held the soft, dim light of dawn. 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks until I, Scarlett Miller, was supposed to walk down the aisle and marry Lucas. Our wedding. Planned meticulously, dreamt of for years, with countless hours and a significant chunk of my own savings, even funds from my nonprofit that were meant to be replenished, poured into deposits and vendors. My nonprofit, the one dedicated to marine conservation, the one my parents, Anna and David Miller, always politely tolerated but never truly understood, viewing it as a quaint hobby rather than my life's work. I pulled up to their sprawling colonial house, a monument to Southern gentility and old money that always felt more like a museum than a home. I had final invitation mock-ups and a check for the string quartet, a non-refundable deposit I'd personally guaranteed to drop off. I let myself in through the side door, the familiar click echoing in the unusual silence. Usually by now I'd hear the faint sounds of Mom's morning routine. Maybe the news softly playing, the clink of a teacup, or her humming a show tune slightly off-key. But the house was still. Deathly still. Then I saw it. On the polished mahogany counter, where Mom usually left cheerful post-it notes about grocery lists or reminding me to call Grandma, lay a single, heavy sheet of paper, folded in half. It wasn't her floral stationery. This was thick, cream-colored, formal cardstock. My heart gave a strange, cold lurch even before I unfolded it. The text wasn't handwritten. It was printed in a stark, impersonal font. Weddings off. You are hereby removed from arrangements. Further contact will be via legal counsel. That was it. No greeting. No explanation. No signature, though none was needed. My parents, Anna and David Miller. Just 7 printed lines erasing everything. For a moment, my body felt disconnected. My hands trembled slightly, but my mind went eerily calm. It was the kind of shock that didn't scream or cry. It just froze. Everything I had been planning, every vendor booked, every seating chart debated, every floral arrangement decided upon, vaporized by a piece of paper. My first instinct, buried under layers of learned restraint, was to demand an explanation. To call them, text Lucas, shatter the silence with my confusion and hurt. But something stopped me. A cold, hard clarity settled in my gut. This wasn't a sudden change of heart. This wasn't cold feet. This was calculated. The formal language, the absence of emotion. It was deliberate. Arguing wouldn't get me answers. It would only give them a reaction they perhaps expected, a chance to control the narrative. Instead, I pulled out my phone. Found my mother Anna's contact. My fingers, steady now, typed a single word. Understood. I hit send. It felt strangely powerful, that one word. A refusal to give them the dramatic confrontation, a signal that I received their message without accepting their terms. Still standing by the counter, amidst the ghost of wedding plans, my mind raced. My nonprofit's funds were tied up in several deposits, the venue, the caterer. Funds I desperately needed back soon to cover upcoming project expenses. If the wedding was off, that money needed to be returned. But given the note's reference to legal counsel and removed from arrangements, I knew they wouldn't just hand it over. They were clearly planning to reroute or claim ownership of all the arrangements. Pulling my phone out again, my hands moved with a new, urgent purpose. I accessed my banking app, my nonprofit's account. I started placing flags on every transfer made to vendors or directly to my parents for wedding purposes. I initiated inquiries, requested documentation of my deposits, and where possible, requested temporary holds or freezes, citing a potential dispute. It wasn't a full legal freeze yet, but it was a crucial first step, creating a financial roadblock, flagging the money as mine before they could easily sweep it away. I documented every action, every confirmation number. This wasn't just about the wedding anymore. This was about protecting myself from people who had just shown they intended to strip me bare. The drive home wasn't numb. It was charged. The quiet was filled not with confusion, but with a burning, focused energy. I knew I had just thrown a wrench into their plans. And I had a feeling the silence wouldn't last long. Night fell, but the expected follow-up call or explanation never came. Just the oppressive silence from my parents' end. It felt heavier than any argument, confirming that their message was final, their decision made without input or appeal. I sat in my living room, laptop open, systematically organizing the documents I had pulled, emails with vendors confirming my bookings, deposit slips showing my name or my nonprofit's account details, contracts I had signed before my parents insisted on taking over communications to make it easier. Every file added to the restitution and recourse folder solidified the truth. I had poured my resources and energy into this event. Then, a message notification popped up. An email from my cousin Isabel Miller on my father's side, someone I wasn't particularly close to but was generally kind. The subject line was hesitant. "Hey, got this? Seems weird?" Attached was a screenshot. My blood ran cold as I read the header, Miller Family Celebration Logistics. It was a group chat, probably on a messaging app or private forum. The participants: Anna Miller, David Miller, Chloe Miller, Caleb Hayes, Chloe's fiancé, and an event planner listed by name. I stared at the screen, heart hammering against my ribs. I scanned the recent messages. The event planner asking Anna about updated guest counts. David confirming final payments had been reallocated. Chloe, my younger sister, texting, "So glad we could finally make these changes. Honestly, red wasn't really my color anyway." Followed by a message from Anna. "Everything happens for a reason, darling. This new plan is perfect. Can't wait for our big day." It wasn't just that they canceled my wedding. They had hijacked it. The arrangements weren't being scrapped. They were being reassigned. My wedding. The venue I'd painstakingly chosen. The caterer I'd tasted with Lucas. The florist who understood my vision. The string quartet whose music I'd handpicked. All of it, seamlessly transferred to Chloe and Caleb. My name erased, replaced by hers. Like I was never even there. The rage I felt was a physical thing, burning behind my eyes, making my hands tremble again. But this time not from shock, but from pure, unadulterated fury. They didn't just take my wedding. They stole my identity, my effort, my money, and handed it to my sister with a heart emoji. I remembered how my parents had insisted on handling all the final payments and vendor communications in the last couple of months. "It's easier this way, sweetie," Mom had cooed. "Less stress for you." I, naive and trusting, agreed, busy with my nonprofit work, grateful for the help. Now I saw the chilling truth. They wanted control so they could do exactly this. Erase me easily. My gaze fell back to the group chat screenshot. Chloe's flippant comment about colors, Anna's gushing reply. It wasn't just passive acceptance from Chloe, she was an active participant, benefiting from the stolen event, making callous jokes about it. This wasn't just my parents' cruelty, it was a family project. Adding the screenshot to my restitution and recourse folder, renaming it Chatproof Hijack, a cold determination settled deeper in my bones. They thought I would just disappear. They miscalculated. Terribly. They thought they were dealing with the Scarlett who avoided conflict, who stayed silent to keep the peace. But that woman was gone. In her place was someone who understood that sometimes peace wasn't an option, and the only way to protect yourself was to fight. And I had proof. Lots of it. The depth of their planning, the sheer coldness of it, sent my mind reeling back, looking for other instances, other signs I had missed. The dress fitting. God, the dress fitting. Weeks ago, Mom had insisted I go to Jardin de Rêves, a ridiculously expensive boutique she'd gone to herself decades ago. She made the appointment, emphasizing they needed my exact measurements for the custom order. I was nervous but hopeful. Maybe this shared experience would bring us closer. Mom was distant, canceling lunches, vaguely unavailable. She didn't show up for the fitting. Instead, Chloe did. She breezed in late, latte in hand, wearing that practiced expression of wide-eyed innocence. "Oh my gosh, Scarlett, I didn't know you were here today," she chirped, as if running into me at a pre-scheduled appointment she knew about was a total coincidence. The boutique staff, prim and professional, looked visibly uncomfortable. They clearly knew Chloe, and something felt off. I tried on the dress. It was stunning, everything I wanted. As I stood on the pedestal, looking in the mirror, half-pinned, Chloe pulled out her phone. "Lighting is perfect in here," she exclaimed, snapping photos without asking. I flinched, but bit back any protest. used to Chloe's self-centered obliviousness, or so I told myself. I should have seen it then. I should have walked out dress or no dress. The next day, an email arrived from the boutique. Final adjustments complete per updated measurements. Order ready for pickup under Karen Miller. My name wasn't mentioned. The email cited family request for the change. My dress. They had taken my dress. Not metaphorically. Literally. I sat stunned, looking at that email. The same dress I'd chosen, paid a deposit on, stood hours having fitted, was now officially ordered under my sister's name. A few days later, scrolling through Instagram, a local wedding account I sometimes followed popped up with a new reel. Tagged, Jardin de Rêves, Miller Wedding, Autumn Romance. My blood ran cold. It was Chloe's wedding reel. And there it was. My dress. Walking down the aisle. At my venue. The string quartet I'd booked playing the exact piece I had chosen for my entrance. Every detail, from the floral arrangements, my florist, to the specific chair sashes, my rental company, was exactly as I had planned it. The reel was professionally shot, glowing perfect. Anna and David were featured prominently, beaming, toasting champagne with Chloe and Caleb, looking like the proudest parents in the world. Not once, not in any frame, any tag, any caption, was there a mention of me. I was completely invisible. Erased. Then came the toast. Anna stood at the head table, glass raised, eyes glistening for the camera. Her voice clear and resonant, to the daughter who made this family truly proud. Not our daughters. Not a daughter. The daughter. Singular. Chloe. In that moment, watching her celebrate in my stolen wedding, I understood. I was never meant to be the daughter who made them proud. I was the other one. The one who didn't fit their mold, who built her own life, who wasn't interested in their social games. Chloe played the game. She sought their approval. She followed their unspoken rules. She was everything they wanted. And they were rewarding her with the life they thought I didn't deserve, even if they had to steal it. The realization that my identity, my worth, had been silently judged and dismissed by my own parents for years was a different kind of pain than the wedding theft. It was deeper, older. It sent me rummaging through even older digital ghosts. I found my ancient smartphone, the one I stopped using years ago but couldn't bring myself to factory reset. Photos, old texts, and voice memos from a life that felt like someone else's. Scrolling through, a folder labeled Holiday Dinner 2021 caught my eye. Thanksgiving. That year had been particularly tense. Chloe had been insufferable, boasting about a potential marketing job she hadn't even interviewed for yet. Mom was strangely quiet, watching me. Dad was, as always, glued to a football game. I remembered needing air after Chloe made a particularly cutting remark about me being too sensitive because I expressed concern about something trivial. I'd gone for a walk around the block, leaving my phone charging on the table. I pressed play on the voice memo. The background clatter of silverware, the low murmur of conversation. Then Mom's voice, carefully casual. "She's a sweet girl," she said. I knew instantly she meant me. But she's just not like Chloe. Dad grunted in agreement. Not driven, not special. She's fine. That word. Fine. Utterly, damningly dismissive. It wasn't anger or disappointment. It was apathy. Like describing bland wallpaper you have no intention of changing. She doesn't push herself, Mom continued. She's content. And that's okay. But Chloe has potential. I stopped the recording. My jaw was clenched so tight it ached. That was the narrative they'd told themselves. I was fine. Therefore not worth investing in, not worth truly seeing, not worth fighting for. Chloe had potential, deserved everything. This resonated with another memory, a deeper ache. Thomas. 6 years ago. The first man I had ever truly let in. Kind funny saw me. We were planning a weekend trip, just the two of us. The night before he sent a message, "Scarlett, I'm so sorry. I can't do this. I think your family was right. I'm not enough." He disappeared. No argument, no second chance, just silence. For years, I tortured myself, thinking I wasn't enough for him, that I'd somehow driven him away. The phone rang. Unknown number. My gut tightened. I almost ignored it, but something compelled me to answer. Scarlett. The voice was hesitant, familiar. It's Thomas. The room tilted slightly. Not from surprise, but from a wave of recognition. This wasn't a ghost from the past. It was a missing piece of a puzzle I'd never fully understood. Thomas, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. I'm listening. He didn't hesitate. The words tumbled out, heavy with years of regret. She threatened me, Scarlett. Your mother. I didn't know what else to do. His voice cracked. She didn't just tell me to leave you alone. She called my office. My manager pulled me in, said he'd received a call from a concerned family member, your mother. She told them I was involved with someone with mental instability, that you were emotionally fragile, needed constant care, and that our relationship was detrimental to your health. She said I was contributing to it. I gripped the edge of the counter, knuckles white. A dam I didn't even know existed inside me began to crack, piece by piece. She said, Thomas continued, his voice thick with pain, that if I really loved you, I'd walk away so you could focus on yourself. And I believed her. I thought I was doing the right thing. He paused, a heavy sigh. I'm so sorry, Scarlett. I know it doesn't fix anything. My voice was flat. It doesn't, I said. But thank you for telling me. We hung up. The silence in the room was different now. It wasn't just empty. It was filled with the echoes of a manipulation that had spanned years, sabotaging not just a relationship, but my trust in my own judgment. Your family was right. Thomas hadn't meant I was wrong for him. He meant my family was right about me being too fragile, too difficult. It was a lie they had sold, not just to him, but perhaps to themselves and to anyone else who got close. The pieces clicked into place with a sickening finality. The wedding theft wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of a lifetime of subtle and not-so-subtle manipulation. The picture was clear now. My parents saw my independence, my nonprofit work, my choice of partner as a deviation from their carefully constructed plan for the daughter, Chloe. When they couldn't control me, they sought to dismantle my life, isolate me, and redirect my resources, including my wedding, to the child who fit their narrative. I needed to talk to Lucas. He had a right to know the full extent of their cruelty, and there were still pieces of the puzzle only he could fill in. I called him, my voice calm but firm. Lucas, I said, I need you to be completely honest with me. Right now. There was a pause, a quiet intake of breath on his end. I know what this is about, he said finally, his voice low. And you're right to ask. He told me about the day he went to their house months before he proposed. Anna had called him into the sunroom alone. David wasn't there. She had a folder. She said it was things I needed to consider before making such a big decision, Lucas explained, his voice heavy with discomfort. Inside, there were copies of your old credit statements from years ago, notes about your panic attacks after college, even the ER bill from when you fainted at work. My stomach twisted. They had kept records of my struggles, not out of concern, but as potential weapons. She said she kept them for emergencies, Lucas continued, his voice tight with barely suppressed anger. But she was showing them to me to question your stability, your judgment. And the prenup? I asked, the word feeling foreign and sharp. Lucas hesitated. She had one drafted. Said it was just prudence, to protect the family's assets in case things didn't work out. Did you sign it? No, he said immediately. God, no. The whole thing felt wrong. It wasn't you at all. He sighed. But I also didn't tell you. I didn't want to cause a rift. I thought I could navigate it, smooth things over. A rift? There wasn't a rift. There was a chasm they had spent years digging. Thank you, I said, the words feeling inadequate, but all I could manage before the call became too much. I hung up, the weight of their calculated invasion of my life settling heavily on my shoulders. I walked into my bedroom, my steps decisive. From the back of my closet, I pulled out the small, heavy metal box where I kept important documents. Papers Mom had insisted I keep safe, contracts, receipts, deeds. I pulled out the venue deposit confirmation. My name was clearly on it. The floral invoice, it had come through my nonprofit's account, designated as a project expense to be reimbursed by the wedding fund. And then I found it. folded neatly in a cream envelope. The budgeting agreement Anna had given me months ago, urging me to sign it quickly so she could keep things organized. It wasn't a budget summary. It was a legal document, full of clauses and jargon I'd skimmed over in my haste. At the very bottom, above the signature line mine, was a line I hadn't truly registered before: authorized financial reassignment for family redistribution purposes. My breath caught in my throat. Family redistribution purposes. They didn't just cancel my wedding. They had legally documented my consent, albeit unknowingly given, to strip me of the assets tied to it and reassign them within the family, meaning to Chloe. It was a chillingly efficient way to steal my wedding and the money I'd invested, all under the guise of family organization. I sat on the edge of my bed, the papers spread around me. The note, the chat logs, the dress email, the recording transcript I'd quickly made, the Thomas call, Lucas's confession, and this legal theft document. It was overwhelming, but in the chaos, there was a new kind of focus. They thought they were untouchable. They thought they could manipulate and steal with impunity because they were family, because they were powerful, because I was just Scarlett, the fine one. They were wrong. So wrong. The feeling wasn't despair. It was a cold, exhilarating sense of purpose. The fog of confusion and hurt had lifted, replaced by sharp clarity and a burning need for justice. I walked back to my laptop, the restitution and recourse folder glowing on the screen. I added the photo of the financial reassignment document, labeling it clearly. Every piece of evidence was a brick in the foundation I was building. It was time for the first deliberate strike. I opened my email. New message to Anna Miller. Subject: this ends now. The body was short, devoid of emotion, cutting straight to the facts. Anna, I have received your note and understand your intention to seize control of my wedding arrangements and associated funds. Please be aware that I have documented proof of my contributions, your planned reassignment of these assets to Chloe, your previous interference in my personal relationships, and your pattern of misrepresentation. You have taken enough. If you attempt to proceed with your plan, continue to interfere in my life, or cause any further damage to my reputation, I will pursue all available legal options to recover what is mine and will not hesitate to make this situation public. Consider this your only warning. Scarlett. I read it twice. Precise. Unemotional. A clear boundary and a consequence. My finger hovered over the send button. This was it. Crossing the point of no return. I took a deep breath and clicked. A strange quiet settled over the apartment. The kind of silence that holds its breath, waiting for the storm. I knew they had received it. I knew they had also discovered the flags and holds I'd placed on the accounts tied to my name and nonprofit. This was the beginning of the 48 hours. Their panic. They expected me to cry, to plead, maybe to argue and be easily dismissed. They didn't expect me to take calculated action and issue a cold, legalistic warning backed by evidence. The initial silence was soon broken by the familiar ding of my phone, a Facebook notification. It was fast. Faster than I expected. Chloe. She had posted. The post was long, crafted with an air of sad sincerity that made my skin crawl. It spoke of difficult family situations, of a long-standing pattern of emotional volatility and unstable behavior from a troubled family member. It accused me, without naming me directly, of fabricating stories, being driven by jealousy, and attempting to undermine the unity and happiness of the family out of spite. It painted me as a disturbed, attention-seeking individual lashing out because I wasn't the center of attention. Anna and David were among the first to react, Mom with a love reaction, Dad with a supportive comment about dealing with difficult challenges with grace. Then came the comments from their friends, people who had known me since I was a child. So sorry you're going through this, Chloe. Praying for your family. Some people just can't let go of the past and try to hurt others. My stomach churned, but I didn't cry. I didn't throw the phone. My hands were steady as I activated my screenshot tool. Every single comment, every reaction, the timestamp captured and saved into my restitution and recourse folder under public defamation. If they thought public shaming and gaslighting would break me, they were about to find out how wrong they were. This wasn't the 20-year-old who buckled under their pressure. I needed to talk to someone, a friend. I scrolled to Peyton's contact. Peyton wasn't directly involved in the family but ran in some of the same social circles. Her voice was tight when she answered. Scarlett? Oh my God, I saw Chloe's post. Are you okay? I saw it, I replied, keeping my voice level. Peyton, can we meet up? I could really use a friendly face. There was a long, heavy pause on the line. A sharp inhale, a slow exhale, like she was bracing herself. Scarlett, I don't think that's a good idea right now. My heart sank, but I wasn't surprised. Why not? My parents, they're already talking. Your mom's called a few people. You know how she is. She helped my cousin get that internship at the city council last year. And after that thing with Aunt Carol's will. Peyton trailed off, her voice hushed. Look, Jenny, I can't risk it right now. I'm so sorry. No hard feelings, okay? It's just complicated. Complicated. Yes, that's one word for a web of control and fear woven by the Millers through their social and professional connections. Peyton wasn't being a bad friend. She was genuinely afraid of the repercussions Anna could orchestrate. It was a stark reminder of their reach, and of how isolated they intended to make me. I thanked her anyway, her fear speaking louder than any words she could have said about my family's power. I spent the rest of the afternoon in a quiet, determined zone, cleaning my apartment, watering my plants, simple, grounding tasks that allowed my mind to process, not spiral. The initial shock was long gone, replaced by a cold fury and a sense of strategic purpose. Every screenshot saved, every document filed, every phone call a piece of the puzzle or a confirmation of their tactics. They thought they could erase me, then publicly destroy me when I didn't comply. They underestimated the quiet strength built over years of navigating their subtle dismissals and overt manipulations. As dusk settled, casting long shadows, I picked up my phone again. It was time for the next step. I called Chloe. She answered on the second ring, her voice laced with smug anticipation. Well, finally decided to talk, huh? After your little stunt. My voice was low, steady, completely devoid of the emotion she clearly expected. Chloe, I'm only going to say this once. Take down the post. There was a beat of surprised silence, then her laugh, sharp and brittle, exactly like it was in high school when she knew she had backup. Are you serious? You actually think anyone believes you now? You sound completely unhinged. Just like Mom said you were. I'm not asking for belief, I said, my voice like ice. I'm stating a fact. I know about the money, about Thomas, about the recording from Thanksgiving dinner. I know exactly what you and Mom and Dad have been doing for years. Her smugness faltered for just a second. You don't know anything, she snapped, but there was a tremor in her voice. You're paranoid. You're just jealous. I'm not jealous, Chloe. I'm done being silent. I'm setting a boundary. If you or Mom and Dad continue this public attack, if you don't stop trying to erase me, I will not just defend myself. I will reveal everything. I will expose the financial theft, the manipulation, the lies. I will dismantle every single piece of that perfect family image you are clinging to, brick by painstakingly documented brick. Is that a threat? She practically shrieked. No, Chloe, I said calmly. That's a boundary. And unlike your family, I keep mine. Whether you keep yours is entirely up to you. I ended the call. I didn't wait for her response. 2 hours later, as the sky deepened to a bruised purple, there was a sharp knock at my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. Peeking through the peephole, I saw a man in a uniform, a courier. He handed me a heavy, thick envelope. Delivery for Scarlett Miller. I signed, thanked him, and closed the door. The envelope felt cold in my hands. I sat on the couch, slid a finger under the seal, and pulled out a document. Formal. Legal. Titled, Notice of Beneficiary Revocation and Removal. The language was stark, cold, bullet-pointed. As of this date, Scarlett Miller is hereby removed from all family estate considerations, including property, financial trusts, and personal assets managed by the Miller Family Trust. No reasons listed. It was signed by Anna and David Miller, witnessed and notarized. A clean sweep. Their final, ultimate move to cut me off entirely, thinking it would leave me powerless and silent. At the very bottom, in clean, slanted ink, was a single closing line. As of this date, you are no longer considered part of the Miller family. I sat there holding the paper. Disinherited. Cast out. The wedding theft, the public shaming, the sabotaged past, all of it led to this formal, legal severing. They thought they had one. They thought they had finally erased me completely, leaving me with nothing and no claim. But they made a critical error. They poked a bear they thought was still hibernating. They disinherited me after I had already frozen accounts, gathered overwhelming proof, issued a warning, and publicly called out Chloe. Their legal maneuver, instead of shutting me down, likely created a legal standing for me to contest their actions regarding the already disputed funds and assets they had stolen. They had just given me a formal document stating I was no longer family, which paradoxically freed me from any obligation to protect the family image and gave me a clearer path to fight them legally without the complication of being an heir. The silence in the apartment was shattered. My phone, resting on the coffee table, lit up. Then it rang. An unknown number. It stopped. Rang again. My mother's number. Then David's. Then Chloe's. It wouldn't stop. Calls coming in rapid succession. Unknowns, knowns, back and forth. The vibration of the phone against the wood table sounded frantic. Missed calls notifications flashed across the screen faster than I could count them. 10, 25, 50? The number climbing rapidly, past 70, settling around 73 missed calls in less than an hour. They were panicking. The frozen accounts, my calm, evidence-backed warning email, my call to Chloe, and now, perhaps, the legal ramifications of their own impulsive disinheritance notice interacting with my prior actions. Something had gone very wrong for them. They were losing control. I sat there, amidst the ringing, the vibrating, the cascade of missed calls and frantic voicemails filling up my phone. The cold light of dawn was just starting to creep over the horizon. I wasn't crying. I wasn't scared. I was calm, focused, armed. They thought they could break me, erase me, steal my life, and cast me out. They thought I would disappear. They had only just started the fight I was ready to finish. And I wasn't playing by their rules anymore.